My name is Brian Skrobonja, and on this episode of the Common Sense Financial Podcast, if someone began working at age 20, retires at age 60, and lives to age 100, they are retired for as long as they worked. I mean, that's retirement at halftime. A paradox today is people working for decades, gaining experience and wisdom, then they remove themselves from the workplace and stop contributing that knowledge back into society. Perhaps by redefining the second half of life, you could continue contributing to society, which could mean a second meaningful career or business. Instead of checking out, maybe consider continuing to contribute, which can help enable you to continue to build wealth and then lessen the financial stress on your other assets.
Well, hey, everybody, and thank you for listening and joining us today. We hope that this podcast can provide you with some insights to help you grow and get closer to your goals this year. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to this podcast. That way you'll be notified about new content and you'll be able to listen to Brian tackle a variety of different topics. So you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, pretty much anywhere that podcasts can be found. And all the links to subscribe, as well as past episodes, are available on the website at brianskrobonja.com. So thanks again for tuning in, and let's get started.
Opportunities are still there.
The attempt at passing down wealth from generation to generation.
Consider the outcome, not just popular opinion.
And the whole teaching there is about preparedness and being ready.
There's a difference between what's real and what's true.
You're listening to the Common Sense Financial Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Skrobonja. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get into today's topic. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about the idea of retirement, and it has led me on a journey through the past, present, and future of the concept. And I refer to retirement as a concept because while it is deeply ingrained in our modern psyche, it is relatively new in terms of human history and has no guarantees surrounding it. During my research, I uncovered some interesting facts and discovered some concerning trends that I think need to be realized and addressed by anyone thinking about and planning to retire. When looking at this, it became clear to me that our forefathers likely never entertained the notion of retirement as we understand it today. I suspect that to them, the concept of retirement would seem a little bit unnatural. Yet here we are in an era where retirement is not just a possibility, but a widely anticipated and meticulously planned stage of life. But this transformation to where we are today didn't happen overnight. It was a complex evolution, marked by societal shifts, economic developments, and most critically, the profound extension of human life expectancy. To understand where we are, we must first look back to see how things progressed over time. In ancient societies, people worked day in and day out to provide for themselves, and some still do today, but the difference between then and now is where we need to focus. Back then, people worked in trades that provided for their daily needs, such as farming, agriculture, and artisan trades, which required ongoing attention and effort. And when I think about this, my mind goes to biblical times when people worked the earth, growing crops, herding animals, making things by hand. And yes, that was a long time ago. But that was the way it was done for thousands of years up until the Industrial Revolution in the late 1700s when people moved from fields to factories. And if you fast forward another 100 years to the late 1800s, the societal shift from family and community working together and supporting one another to industrial jobs that often took people away from their homes required a different method for supporting elderly people. Employers saw that people were working hard, and as they aged, they were unable to keep up with the demands of the job. This is when employers began offering pension benefits, which was the precursor to the modern retirement benefits. Fast forward again to the 1900s, and we see the introduction of the Social Security system. This shift marked a departure from a model that placed personal responsibility, family, and community at the heart of supporting the aging population to putting that responsibility on the government. So when we think about this shift over the last 250 years, we should recognize the speed of change that has occurred since then and not be callous to the fact that change is accelerating. As I acknowledged before, I see retirement as a concept, and I feel that based on what we know about technology and healthcare, retirement will most likely not look the same in the future. In the 2000s, with baby boomers retiring, birth rates declining, and the labor force shrinking, it seems that the current system may soon see another shift occur that will change how retirement is defined. The Washington Post published an article back in July of 2023 that said, for the past 50 years, the baby boomer generation born between 1946 and 1964 have worked through the American labor force like a big meal inside an anaconda. As they age, the workforce is becoming older than ever, As they retire, they'll push the worker to retiree ratio lower than ever. Lower numbers of workers per retiree threatens the future of programs such as Social Security and Medicare, which supports older Americans by taxing current workers. As the share of working Americans shrinks, that source of money will too. Okay, so while this information may not be new, I believe that that a significant number of people are currently experiencing a sense of malaise and simply don't know what to think or do about it. Under the current system of government benefits and knowing the math doesn't work, I believe that how these programs are instituted will likely change. And if we are wondering how this plays out, we've already seen how this played out with pensions. Pensions were once the engine for many people to be able to retire and are now rarer outside of government for the same reasons. The math didn't support the need, and they have been slowly replaced by defined contribution plans such as 401ks over the last 50 years. The proverbial three-legged stool of pensions, Social Security, and personal savings has slowly become what I would consider a pogo stick of personal responsibility, which takes us back to the pre-industrial revolution structure of personal responsibility. However, I think the thought many people have is that the government will always bail the voter out, and I do think there's some truth to that. But I also question how much longer our government can continue to spend money. According to the Social Security Administration, benefits are projected to run negative in 2033, and according to the Congressional Budget Office, the national debt is projected to reach $52 trillion in 2033. The problem of all of this is well known, but the solution at this point are all based on conjecture. It is my strong opinion that those planning their retirement must think differently than prior generations because the concept of retirement keeps evolving, which leads me to the topic of life expectancy. From the mid-1700s to the mid-1800s, life expectancy was age 35 to 40, and at the time Social Security was established back in 1935, life expectancy was 58, and in 2023, it's 79. New studies and research hypothesize that over the next 20 years, we'll see incredible longevity-related breakthroughs that have the potential to add decades to your lifespan. There are many factors to consider when it comes to retirement, but in my opinion, nothing influences retirement more than the increase in human longevity. Retirement was once considered a necessary transition when a person was no longer productive in their work and had a short life expectancy once retired. Today, people are retiring when they're still fully capable of working, and that is where the chasm exists. It ties back to the declining workforce where people are either contributing to society or they're taking from it. And as we see advancements in healthcare and living conditions add decades to our lives, the longer we live, the longer our financial resources must last to maintain our lifestyle, and this reality is only widening the chasm. Retirement today is simply not defined the same as it was 200 years ago or even 50 years ago. There are many variables to what is being discussed that perhaps makes this an oversimplified interpretation of the history, but the point here is that retirement is a new phenomenon in human history and continues to evolve. In this light, how retirement is defined could probably use a revision because a lot of the thoughts and theories around retirement have traditionally relied on shorter life expectancies. As you look to the future, you should be cognizant of three factors that contribute to what retirement means to give yourself the most opportunity for success. Number one is contribution. If someone began working at age 20, retires at age 60, and lives to age 100, they are retired for as long as they worked. I mean, that's retirement at halftime. A paradox today is people working for decades, gaining experience and wisdom, then they remove themselves from the workplace and stop contributing that knowledge back into society. Perhaps by redefining the second half of life, you could continue contributing to society, which could mean a second meaningful career or business. Instead of checking out, maybe consider continuing to contribute, which can help enable you to continue to build wealth and then lessen the financial stress on your other assets. Number two would be prevention. There are calculated risks and there's foolish risks, and regardless of where the line may be in defining either side, being wrong magnifies over time. I mean, if a plane is off course by just 1 degree, it won't be noticeable over short distances, but at greater distances, it can have a significant impact. Longevity is the distance in this scenario, and as people live longer, they are spending more time in retirement, which has the potential of straining resources, increasing the possibility of falling short of your destination. Now, popular opinion will often suggest taking on more investment risks to grow assets, but the opposite may be true when you add in sequence of return risks, inflation, taxes, market volatility, and medical costs to this equation. Retirement is riddled with risk and is amplified the longer you live while taking money from your assets. Transferring risk away from you and finding ways to move things into your control helps to prevent unforeseen problems that put your retirement at risk. An example of transferring risk is best illustrated using insurance. Insurance companies, they're in business to insure just about everything, and retirement income is one of those things they insure. Annuities may be a taboo topic in some circles, but if you want to establish your own private pension system, this is it. Another way to transfer risk is to transition to tax-free assets. Taxes are set to increase in January 2026 when provisions in the Tax Cut and Jobs Act are set to sunset. And I believe taxes are more likely to go up in the future than they are to go down. And so by positioning in tax-free assets, you reduce your exposure to those future tax increases. The third thing is delegation. Retirement planning really is a team sport that requires careful planning, practice, and coaching. Going at it alone could be costly if mistakes are made and not recognized early. I have found that professionals have a difficult time agreeing on what a retirement plan looks like and how it should be designed, much less someone trying to do it by themselves. I find that the most successful people in companies will delegate research, projections, and strategy to teams of people, then use that information to finalize their decisions. You can delegate the heavy lifting of a retirement plan to financial advisors, attorneys, insurance agents, and CPAs, then use that collective wisdom of that team to implement the actual plan itself. A well-established wealth management firm can assemble the team for you and can help bring decades of experience into the conversation. If you want to learn more how to assemble your dream team, visit our website at skrobonjafinancialgroup.com. Embrace a new paradigm that sees retirement not as the final act, but as an intermission can shape a winning strategy for the future. That concludes today's show. I am Brian Skrobonja. Thank you for listening to the Common Sense Financial Podcast. Thanks for listening to today's show. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and Spotify so that you can receive notifications when we release new episodes. I'm Brian Skrobonja, and this is the Common Sense Financial Podcast.
Well, thank you for listening to the Forbes Top 10 rated Common Sense Financial Podcast. Before you go, I want to encourage you to jump over to brianskrobonja.com to access the full archive of blogs and podcasts. And if you want to be the first in line to get new content, you can sign up for free on the Brian Skrobonja website as well. If you're not following Brian on all the social channels, we'd love to have you join in on the conversation. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, he's there. Lastly, if you've enjoyed listening to today's podcast, or if you have found value in any of our content, help spread the word by sharing our videos, podcasts, and posts wherever you get them. We greatly appreciate it and are glad that you took the time to join us today. Securities offered only by duly registered individuals through Madison Avenue Securities, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through Skrobonja Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. Tax services offered only through Skrobonja Tax Consulting. Mass does not offer billed banking or tax advice. Skrobonja Financial Group, LLC, Skrobonja Wealth Management, LLC, Skrobonja Insurance Services, LLC, Skrobonja Tax Consulting, and billed banking are not affiliated with Mass. Skrobonja Wealth Management, LLC is a registered investment advisor. Advisory services are only offered to clients and prospective clients where Skrobonja Wealth Management, LLC and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Billed banking is a DBA of Skrobonja Insurance Services, LLC. Benefits and guarantees are based on the claims-paying ability of the insurance company, not FDIC-insured. Results may vary. Any descriptions involving life insurance policies and its use as an alternative form of financing or risk management techniques are provided for illustration purposes only, will not apply in all situations, may not be fully indicative of any present or future investments, and may be changed at the discretion of the insurance carrier, general partner, and/or manager, and are not intended to reflect guarantees on securities performance. The term billed banking, private banking alternatives, or specially designed life insurance contracts are not meant to insinuate that the issuer is creating a real bank for its clients or communicating that life insurance companies are the same as traditional banking institutions. This material is educational in nature and should not be deemed as a solicitation of any specific product or service. Billed banking is offered by Skrobonja Insurance Services LLC only and is not offered by Madison Avenue Securities LLC. Our firm is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein, provided by the third parties, have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by our firm. References to billed banking, private banking alternatives, or specially designed life insurance contracts are not meant to insinuate that the issuer is creating a real bank for its clients or communicating that life insurance companies are the same as traditional banking institutions. This material is informational in nature and should not be deemed as a solicitation of any specific product or service. Billed banking is not FDIC insured. Billed banking is offered by Skrobonja Insurance Services LLC only and is not offered by Madison Avenue Securities LLC nor Skrobonja Wealth Management LLC.